Chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Westmoreland, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to start my time by quoting directly the Second Amendment of our Constitution. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Aren't those beautiful and resounding words? As a man who likes to keep it simple, I appreciate the Founding Fathers not only for their foresight to protect the right to bear arms, but also how plain and simple that they made it. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon. Unfortunately, I think our Founding Fathers spoke too plainly for certain people, certain presidents to understand. That president may have always reminded us of that they taught constitutional law. Sadly, I've yet to encounter someone who in that position may disregard the Constitution so regularly. Not only would that president trample on the Second Amendment, but he would also trample on Article 1, which you know is the Congress, and going through the Congress to make laws. That president should have known that the regulations regarding buying guns must come from legislation, not by an oral decree. That president tried to legislate in the Senate several times, but his colleagues refused to do it, even though there was a majority. Now that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are not in a majority in Congress, then I'm assuming that this administration is deciding to create their own regulations. The Constitution be damned, because sadly there are no checks and balances anymore. We know even Congress passes a bill to repeal any type of order that any type of president may make would still have to go to that individual to have that bill signed. So what are the chances of putting together a bill that some Congress may have seen an inappropriate executive action and then send it to the person that created that inappropriate action and expect him to sign it? I think, Mr. Speaker, this is one of the things that has so disappointed the American people is the inability to have their representatives voice their complaints and do their legislative responsibility to an out-of-control government. So each week, as administration is intent or a group is intent on just disregarding the Constitution, they become numb. The American people become numb to these illegal actions. I think it's time that we brought attention to some of these illegal actions that some presidents in the past, some presidents in the future may create. And I think it's time that we bring these actions to the attentions of the American people and let them know what our Founding Fathers had intention to do originally, what they intended the Constitution to mean, how it was interpreted by those very first legislators, President Washington, the Supreme Court, and others, that they took this document as a simple document, very plainly written and read. But unfortunately, we have had Supreme Courts, we've had presidents, we've had legislative bodies that have tried to take these simple, basic words and turn them into something that they could use for their benefit to try to change the way that this world works and how our citizens are applied the laws that they make. And so, Mr. Speaker, we are going to try to do as much as we can in the near future to try to bring to the attention of the American people and the world because I think our Constitution has been a great cornerstone for this world and for any country that wanted to have a republic, a democracy, and a people-driven form of government. And to really feel that coat of liberty wrap around them. I think our Constitution is that. So I think it's time for us not only to make the citizens aware, but to make this whole world aware
Gentleman,
of
time
what has been
expired.
going on and what we're going to do to stop it. And Mr. Speaker, with that, I yield back the floor.